Okay, I'm getting the morning mail and I see someone left a key in my mailbox. That means we had a car delivery this morning. Alfa Romeo. Another one? Well, let's go take a look. Oh my. What a beauty. Hey, wait a minute. I've seen this before. This is the same vehicle I did a video on 4 weeks ago. Yeah, I remember now. It was at a car show and they only let me have it for a couple hours. So I did a quickie video. And then I got on my high-tech cell phone that I bought at Walmart for 15 bucks. Called the head of Alfa and said, I demand to have this car for a whole week. And I guess they listened, because here it is. We'll have this for a whole week. We're going to rack up a lot of miles, get the fuel economy, the total performance, and do a real test, not a little 2-hour test. So stay tuned. And there's nothing like a car in jet black paint parked in front of your driveway to impress the neighbors. So let's take a closer look at this Italian stallion and see what we're getting for the money. The base price starts at $44,000, but of course you're never going to find one price that low thanks to a long option list. Here's a list of the extra equipment they charged for. I'm not going to read off all of this, just slowly scroll down so you can see for yourself. Pardon my shaky hand, but I don't have my tripod anymore. So if you take that figure and subtract it from the base price, that's around 11,000 bucks worth of options. Wow. I know Alfa has to make money, but charging an extra $450 for a spare tire, come on, shouldn't that be standard in this price class? But it's not. You want this, you gotta pay extra. Under the hood is a tiny 2-liter engine, but don't be fooled, it cranks out a lot of power, 280 to be exact. As we can see, the official fuel economy rating, 22 city, 28 highway, 24 combined. We're going to be racking up a lot of miles on this vehicle, so we'll get the true fuel economy later on in the video. It's connected to an 8-speed automatic transmission with a monkey motion machine shifter copied from BMW. Paddle shifters mounted on the steering column. We'll be talking about that later. All Stelvios will come with all-wheel drive for maximum traction. In spite of that, this is a lightweight, around 3,600 pounds. That explains the claimed 0 to 60 time of 5.6 seconds. We'll take it out later and see if they can do that. These are nice looking brakes, by the way. A larger assembly on the front. There are 5 features I don't like to find on a vehicle, and unfortunately this has all 5, so I'm just going to show them to you real quick and get those out of the way. Number 1, glove boxes that are so small as to be useless, like this one here. They had a lot more room in there. They could have made this bigger, but they didn't. Number 2, the automatic start-stop that kills the engine every time you come up to a red light. Supposedly that saves fuel, but in reality all it does is wear the engine out quicker. Fortunately, you can disconnect it by pushing this button, but you have to do that every time you get in the car and start it. Annoying to do, but it's better than having it on, right? Number 3, super wide rocker panels under the door, which causes you to rub your legs on the bodywork every time you get in and out. And I think these are the widest I've ever seen on a motor vehicle. And to make matters worse, you have the infamous dirt shelf design, which collects mud, sand, snow, grit, which of course gets on your pants from there too. Which is why I'm wearing my gym clothes. I was tired of getting grease on my dress pants. Another thing on my do not like list are electric parking brakes. What's wrong with manual parking brakes? I don't know. For some reason they want to go electric. In the case of the Alfa emergency electric braking, even more so, because the first hour I had this car, I had to make a panic stop because some idiot cut in front of me, and the emergency brake system engaged, locked the car solid, could not get the car to move out of the intersection. In other words, it was time to call a tow truck. So after turning the car on and off and playing with everything, it finally unlocked. But it was not a very good experience, and I hope it doesn't happen again. Bottom line, if this had been a manual brake instead of electric, that incident wouldn't have happened. And my last gripe are car manufacturers who put their pedal shifters on the steering column, which means they can only be reached when you're going in a straight line, not when you're taking corners. If you put the pedal shifters on the steering wheel where my fingers are, then they can be reached regardless of the wheel position all the time. Unlike steering column mounted, which is only part of the time. And occasionally I'll get an email from somebody saying, no, it's better to have them on the steering column because you always know where they're at. Yeah, I know where they're at. On the column where I can't reach them. They belong on the steering wheel. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Just for the record, these 5 complaints I have are minor. They would not keep me from wanting to buy the car, and probably shouldn't keep you from wanting to buy the car. But we have to mention them because that's what we do here. Car reviews. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So now we'll move to the more positive features of the car. Certainly the styling on the outside, but getting back into the cabin. Naturally, the second row seats do fold down for hauling large gear. And there's adequate room back here, as long as you're not over 6 feet tall. We also get map pockets on back of the seats, which is a good place to put the owner's manual, which now gives you some room in that glove box. I love these climate controls. 3 simple knobs, a few buttons. Doesn't get any easier than that. A large lid over the console storage, but not much room down in there. Enough for a few wallets. These are very comfortable seats. I think I'll be enjoying these on the long trips coming up. I like these sun visors. They slide back and forth to block the sun from the side windows on hot days. Like so. You'd be surprised the number of motor vehicles that don't have this simple feature. Alfa gave it to us. Thank you very much. If you're driving in heavy city traffic at night, the one thing you don't need are automatic dimming mirrors that black out the glass and make it impossible to see what's behind you or beside you, but fortunately we have a disconnect button that turns that system off. Hard to find nowadays, but not with Alfa. A nice feature to have. On or off, your choice. We get a well-designed gauge cluster. These are the nicest mirrors I've ever seen in a production car. Lots of clarity, sharp image, and a good range of view too. Then you have this large control button. You pull up the menu to perform different functions. Like so. And there's the navigation screen, not the largest I've ever seen, but adequate enough. We have a knob here that gives you 3 driving modes. Dynamic, normal, and economy. But hey, if you want economy, what are you driving an Alfa Romeo for? Right? So let's try this 0 to 60. So let's continue on with the speed bump test, doing around 25 to 30 miles per hour. Bump number 1, pretty smooth. Number 2, smooth. Number 3, and here comes the big nasty one. Heard a lot of thumping, but didn't feel too much. I'd say overall we passed. By the way, another feature I like is this power steering. It's about as perfect as it gets. Very quick, responsive, decent feedback. No complaints here. We've covered all the show and tell stuff, so now we're going to go out and do some actual driving. We'll start by going out tonight and trying out these headlights and see how they perform. According to the window sticker, these are pretty high-tech lights, a combination of bi-Xenon and LED daytime lights. I know I'm not pronouncing that right, but so what? So let's give it a go. Well, it's getting dark. Time to check out these headlights. Here we have the low beams on a wall 100 feet away. The light is bright enough, but rides rather low to the ground. Now we turn on the high beams. Definitely a bigger improvement. Here we have the high beams on a building 300 feet away with a chain link fence in between. This is really good lighting, very good widespread too. No complaints here. Go to low beam. Also a nice wide beam, but doesn't quite reach out as far. More than adequate for city driving. So we see the difference. On backcountry roads, the brights work very well. You can see road signs up to a half mile away. Low beam, not so well. You'll notice how the low beams disappear in the pavement when you enter dips. So you'll need the high beams on situations like that. These high beams are doing an excellent job of lighting up the road when taking these tight corners, which is important because there's a lot of wildlife out here you don't want to hit. Small stuff like skunks, big stuff like mountain lions. And there are no guardrails on the edge, so you go over, you're screwed. By the way, I've been trying to shift this car manually with the paddle shifters in these tight corners, but I'm having a problem reaching the paddle shifters because they're mounted on the steering column instead of the steering wheel. And we'll be talking about that a little bit later when we take a closer look at the vehicle. So let's turn on our headlights and make sure there are no trolls on this bridge. This is a sweet engine, I'll tell you. Well, they're on to me. I'm gonna make a run for it. Here comes another one. Here comes another one. Here comes number 7. Ooh, he's doing about 120. There goes number 10. The donut shop must be closing early tonight. This is our first highway fuel economy test, cruising at 75 miles per hour. We'll see what happens. Okay, 28 miles, averaging 74 miles per hour, 24.5 mpg. Much better. We're going to reset the computer. Okay, here you go. About 37 miles, averaging 73 miles per hour, 26.7 mpg. And we have a lot more driving coming up and a lot more fuel economy tests coming up. So stay tuned. We're resetting the computer for our third fuel economy test. This is going to be a local expressway trip, traveling at lower speeds. So as far as fuel economy goes, we should get some higher figures. We'll see. Here we go, 25 miles, averaging 63 miles per hour. 27.0 mpg, I think that's the best we're going to see for a while. Another Thanksgiving drunk. Ooh, that doesn't look good. It's a holiday weekend, folks. What do you expect? There's another one. Holiday weekend. In order to drive the car, we've got to start it. In order to start it, we have to find the ignition switch, but hey, nothing here, nothing there. So where is it? Why, on the steering wheel, of course. Who else but the Italians would do that? But you know something? It's really not a bad idea. I kind of like it there. This vehicle has a very interesting feature. If you cross the yellow line on the left or the white line on the right without using the turn signal, you get a noise like this. And this. I've been meaning to turn this feature off, but I haven't figured it out yet. By the way, if you're on a hot date with somebody you don't know well, you might want to turn that off because they might think those farting noises are coming from you instead of the car. Just saying. Let's hear that sound for one last time. At highway speeds, this vehicle is rather quiet, unusual for an SUV. Not only is the wind noise low, but the high-speed stability is excellent. We got some good crosswinds out today, and we're not being affected at all. If you watch my videos, you know who we're going to be visiting next. Where is he? I used to call him Freddy the Frog, but some guy sent me an email and said it's a toad, you idiot. So now it's Tommy the Toad. Big guy, isn't he? It's the radioactive water they drink around here. Well, time to move on. Question of the day. Can you take an Alfa Romeo SUV off-road? Yes, you can, but I'm not. Not because it's an Alfa Romeo and expensive, but because of the black paint, which scratches very easily and gets dirty too easily and hard to clean. So this one's going to stay on the pavement pretty much. I've got a Nissan Titan coming in a few days. We'll save off-roading for that. Besides, I'm having too much fun driving this on curved paved roads. This four-cylinder is a true performance engine. Likes to be driven hard. And an SUV that likes to be driven hard. This baby moves. When climbing steep mountain grades like this, the torque of a turbocharged four-cylinder is a lot easier to work with than a non-turbo V6. Plus, the lighter engine is far better for taking corners, less weight over the front end. On country back roads like this, the BMW sedans have always been my favorite vehicle, but I think this Alfa is going to be taking first place. The more I drive it, the more I love it. But in very tight corners, these pedal shifters, which are mounted on the steering column, are very difficult to reach. so I'm just not going to use them. I'm going to put the automatic transmission in the dynamic performance mode, and I found that works just as well. The automatic transmission dynamic mode isn't as sophisticated as what we get on the Audis and BMWs, but it still works very well. I'm not complaining. By the way, the cornering ability of this Alfa Romeo, very, very nice. No complaints. This is a true performance sports machine, no doubt about that. These brakes are excellent, by the way. We're running them pretty hard here, and they're not even warm yet. No fade at all. But I expected that. So far on this trip, we've done 103 miles. This was strictly for performance evaluation. Fuel economy was not a factor. We're taking a lot of high-speed turns, a lot of passing on the freeway. So let's see what we got. 18.4, that's not bad, really. Remember the golden rule: if you're traveling down mountain in a slick Italian car, keep your eyes on the road. Don't be looking down there. Be looking over here, or you might miss that curve. One of the problems about owning a black car in the desert, you gotta wash it every day. It's dirty quick. So here's my conclusion on the Alfa Romeo Stelvio SUV. Number one, is the price too high? Well, if you compare it to a lot of the Japanese and Korean compact SUVs, you might think so, but if you compare it to the other European compact SUVs, like Audi, BMW, Mercedes, and Jaguar, no, it's in the same price bracket. Number two, let's keep in mind we had $11,000 worth of options. If you find a dealer that has one without all that fluff, the price drops even more. At 44 grand, I think it's a far better deal. Number three, keep in mind that this outperforms its rivals because it's more of a sports sedan than an SUV. If you like driving, I think that's worth a few extra bucks. Number four, keep in mind that Alfa is a small company in the USA. Each year they're going to be bringing in approximately 6,000 vehicles. Less than half of those will be this SUV, so you have some exclusiveness here. You'll probably be the only guy in town that has one. I think that's worth a few extra bucks too. Next, as far as quality, I found the workmanship to be very nice, unusual for a limited production Italian car. And as far as reliability, aside from that little snafu with the brakes locking that one time, I didn't have any issues with this. Very reliable, smooth machine. And while I normally regard BMW as my favorite performance brand, I think this Alfa Romeo brand might be right up there with them, if not better. So if you're shopping for a compact SUV, you want performance and have a lot of money in your bank account, this is certainly worth a look.